Welcome back. Make sure that my mic's working again. It's always turned it off during the intro to try to save some. Oh yeah, we're working. Welcome back in. We are back streaming again tonight. It's a lovely Monday night, and it's been a little while since I've streamed, so we need to get some coffee going. Something that I've noticed is that I find myself with just a lot of coffee every week. Mic check A-OK. Wonderful. Wonderful. Glad to hear it. I find myself with a lot of coffee throughout the week, if you'll believe that. And I think part of that is because I started a little while ago doing larger batches of coffee. I think we're going to dial that back a little bit and start doing smaller batches of coffee. So we're going to go back to the original 600 grams that we used to roast. What that means is a lower preheat temperature. So you can see we've preheated the roaster to 240 degrees Celsius. And that will hopefully allow us to gauge how this coffee is going to kind of move through the roast. We're also roasting a brand new coffee. This is one that we put together last week, or well, put in a bucket last week. It is our Brazil, which has an absolutely wonderful smell to it. We're going to use this guy to scoop the coffee with. Yeah, getting 600 grams of coffee-ish. But yeah, Mr. Two Horse MQT, thank you for joining in. How are you doing on this wonderful Monday night? I know this is quite a bit later than I normally stream, so appreciate you stopping in. But I think we're going to do 3 batches of coffee. So even though we're upping our dose or lowering our dose, I need a bunch of coffee for a coffee liqueur that I'm making. I'm making a double batch of that coffee liqueur, and I'm bringing it up to some friends for our fishing tournament this weekend. So, got to have a lot of coffee on hand to make a lot of coffee liqueur. So right here, we've got our 600 grams of coffee. Doing well, just relaxing in bed with a book. Very nice. Very nice. All right, I think that's about it. Roaster's preheated. I'm looking at roast time up here, and I'm thinking about how I want to kind of manage this roast as we go. We're gonna start it, I think on piece 7. Let me see here. I'm gonna start it on power level 7, I think. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to look at this, because we did a smaller batch of coffee last week. We started it on P8. So yeah, I think we're going to do it on P7. That should give us a lot of power, but not so much power. Yeah, we're going to be kind of dialing back, because we got a lower preheat temp than we did for this one. And we'll start it on a slightly lower power level to hopefully really draw out some of that middle phase of the roast. That is what we're going to do. I should keep that back on there, though. Switch over to this. What we're going to do is we're going to start on P7, go down to P6. Well, no. Yeah, we'll start on P7 and go down to P6 at 2:30, I think. At about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, we'll lower it down. Just to kind of keep an eye on how that moves the roast. Oh, maybe we won't. Yeah, for this one, I think I'm going to start it on P7 and just let it ride on P7 for a little while. and then that will hopefully move us through there. I don't know. It's a brand new coffee. Who knows what's going to happen? But we're going to start it on P7. And then we're going to kind of just go from there. See how it goes from there. I think our desired drop temp for this is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 400, well, probably like 225, 230-ish degrees. We'll kind of see what we're thinking. I think if first crack is ending around 212 degrees, we will take this to about 236, 237, or 226, 227, somewhere in there. But it's looking pretty good right now. Don't mind what I'm seeing here. It's sitting about 17, 18 is where we seem to be cresting for our ROR, which I think is acceptable. It's slightly lower, so I do think I'm going to keep it at P7, just to try to keep that momentum going through dry phase for at least a little while. Starting to smell pretty good. I do think I want to back off this power a pinch. Well, I think I do. Just because of how good that smell is starting to smell. Mr. I like smoked meats and coffee, welcome in, my friend. Lurking here, I'm going to dial in a Brazil and a Brazil decaf next week. Very cool. Very cool. I've never done a decaf. Is it like a Swiss water process decaf that you're working on? This here is a Brazil as well that we're roasting on. So I've always been curious about decaf. One of those things that I don't ever think I would be terribly interested in keeping a lot on hand, but definitely something that would be interesting to like work with and dial in. definitely, as we get close to 5 minutes here, I'm still seeing a little green, but I think we are going to be right on target at 5 minutes for our drying here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark dry end, and I'm going to reduce the power again, and I'm going to kick up the fan. Because we are definitely out of the dry phase. Decaf pays my rent on the coffee shop, folks. Drink decaf, very nice. I've thought about just going to like a car dealership with a couple of bags of like ground up coffee and just dropping it off with like a business card and just saying, hey, if you like it, here's a business card, give me a call, we can talk about getting some more. Because I think about businesses that just go through a ton of coffee, and coffee shops are like the first to come, or not coffee shops, obviously coffee shops go through a ton, but like car dealerships go through so much coffee. I wonder like if that would be a market that would be worth trying to tap into. Car dealerships paid for all my equipment. Yeah. Like just showing up, dropping off some coffee, saying, hey, if you like this, we can talk about making this a regular thing. Here's a business card. Maybe they call back, maybe they don't, but I mean, I'm trying to think like how much coffee a car dealership would realistically go through. And it must be several pounds a week. Like, I would need to get a real coffee grinder though, like a Bunn bulk coffee grinder of some kind. They go through buckets, I can imagine. Hey, I mean, if you know somebody who knows somebody. Oh my gosh, Jen, we got a pal raid going on? Oh my gosh. Jen, I hope you know, first ever raid that I have ever received, happening as we speak. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for dropping in. This is wonderful. I think I've got some pal emojis I can drop in here. I don't have shout outs working, but all of you should go check out Jen Pal's kitchen. She's wonderful. She's always making the best looking dishes. She's got an Instagram that's full of just the most wonderful, delicious looking baked goods I think I've ever seen. Go check her out. She's great. Thank you so much. Had a browser issue. How are you? I'm doing great. It's Monday. We're roasting coffee. The roast room smells wonderful. Thank you so much for dropping in and bringing friends. Oh, no. You are too kind, Jen. Like I said, this is the first raid I've ever had. So thank you. We recently hit affiliate. We got our first raid. Our roast room looks decent. I need to come up with some art to put up there or something like that. But yeah, thank you so much. So we are like in a very we're in a very interesting part of the coffee roasting journey. So if you're not super familiar with coffee roasting, that's a-okay. But what we are at right now is kind of the point where coffee starts becoming, like it goes from its green coffee phase, which I'll show you what green coffee looks like here. And you subscribed. Oh my gosh, y'all are too much. You are all too much. So if you're unfamiliar with green coffee, this is what green coffee looks like. It's quite literally green. Coffee itself, it's referred to as a coffee bean. It's not really a bean. It is... Oh my gosh, you guys! You are too nice. You are all too nice. too nice. Thank you so much for showing all the love. But yes, coffee beans are not beans technically. They are the seeds of a coffee plant. So the coffee cherry actually has seeds inside of it that you can literally like eat the cherry off of a coffee plant, and those seeds are what we're roasting right now. So yeah, that's a neat little fact for you. And then as the beans start to hit around 200 degrees-ish Celsius, they undergo a rapid expansion. The moisture that's like still left inside of that coffee busts the coffee open and actually causes it to break. And you hear like a little cracking sound. And then as that crack happens, that's where we start entering first crack. And I wasn't paying super close attention to this roast, and so it's kind of not going the way I want it to, which is okay. But ideally, we would be at that point right now. But this coffee is going to get roasted pretty dark anyway, and used in a coffee liqueur that I'm making, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But yes, thank you so much for dropping in. I've got all the goofy emotes that I've been working on. Oh my gosh. You're all wonderful. I think we're at the point of first crack right now. I'm seeing a pretty quick dip in my rate of rise. I might actually need to give it a smidge more power just to kind of keep it rolling. But yeah, anyway, thank you all so much for dropping in. This is super fun. But yeah, Mr. Smoke Meats and Coffee. Car dealerships go through a lot, but car dealerships now are another game than they used to be. Churches and civic services might be something to exploit or service. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, churches go through, especially a lot of churches these days. They like offer coffee before their services and stuff like that. So maybe something like that would be good to just knock on a door, just drop some coffee off at the office or something. Happy to be here. I'm working on cleaning up, so I'm in and out. That's totally fine. That's usually how I end up during, like after my stream. It's just like an hour of cleaning things up. I tell you what though, this coffee needs to pick up the pace. This is not ideal. This is not how I wanted this coffee to turn out. I think instead of dropping the heat earlier, like I did, if you're following the charts, instead of dropping the heat right here, like I did, I should have waited and dropped the heat, or just not drop the heat, just let it ride at P7, because I think that is ultimately what stalled this roast out. And that's okay. It's a new coffee. It is what it is. We're learning. But yeah, this is going to be like a 15-minute roast. This is going to be real not ideal. Yeah. But hey, it'll still be coffee. It'll still get the job done. But yeah, in a perfect world, I think this would have ended somewhere around 11 and a half. Well, for a darker coffee, closer to like 12-ish minutes maybe. But instead we are way over our target. And I've got an increasing ROR, which isn't super ideal, but it's not gonna, like I said, it's for what this coffee is going to do, it's not the end of the world. I think we're learning that this coffee just needs to be hit with a lot more heat than I've been hitting it with, which we can do. We can absolutely do that. Yeah, not an ideal roast, but we'll make do. I always seem to waste a batch or two when I get a brand new coffee anyway. So what I'm doing here is I'm learning, seeing what this coffee needs to, be good, be successful. I think we're going to take it right to 230 degrees though, and let it just, well, probably 230 or 16 minutes, whichever comes first. Oh, I think I'm actually hearing second crack snaps. Yes, I am. So first couple snaps, the second crack, that means that this coffee is dark. And on this particular coffee, this is a Brazilian coffee. That means a Brazilian coffee roasted to the first snaps, the second crack, will have that like classic bittersweet coffee taste that everybody thinks of when they're drinking coffee. Which, for adding flavoring to a coffee liqueur, is exactly what we want. Smoke detector. Chaos on stream. Would not be an MQT guy stream if we didn't cause a little bit of chaos. This is so cool. Thank you. I'm going to hop off, but hope you have a great rest of your stream. Jen, I hope you have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much for being my first raider. I think you're my first raider. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, here is our delicious, delicious coffee. Look at that. So let's see how dark this coffee got. What did I say I took it to? Like 230 degrees? But yeah, before every stream, I usually I take my smoke detector down. Just because when the coffee's like dropped and cooling, during the roasting process, I've got this vent fan here that's pulling air from the back of the roaster. Unfortunately, I don't have that same thing in the back of the cooling tray here. And so any smoke that kind of comes out the front of the roaster doesn't have any way of getting vented. Absolutely. The food and drink community on Twitch is growing, but is still not big enough. I think it is a hugely untapped streaming market these days. Well, I'm going to dump it into this guy actually. So we started with 600 grams and now we are down to 504 grams. And it's wild how big this coffee got because it just about filled this little container. I'm worried I don't have enough room to do another one. Well, let's fill out our paperwork for this roast. Is it sitting at like 245? Needs to cool down a little bit, actually. All right, so today's date is 2023. 2023 0213, batch number 1. And this is on a new bean. This bean is from Sweet Maria's. Oh, you guys can't even see what I'm doing right now. Let's get the focus on this. So this coffee is from Sweet Maria's. Bean name, what was this? Brazil. Canastra. Luis Otavio. Container group. This says no data available. Well, will it let me add it even with no data available like that? Doesn't look like it. Why not? I'll just create it. Oh well. Admin. This is like the most frustrating part about this darn software. Great roaster, less than ideal software. And it was actually about 601 grams. That's a huge temp loss. And a very drawn out roast time. Are you really crashing on me right now? Oh, just this software is just the worst. Just simply the worst. Closing it. They upped the price of the Aleo Bullet a few years ago from like $2,700 to $3,500. And the rumor was that they were doing it because the software development got more expensive than they thought it would be, which, yeah, developing software that comes with a thing that you purchase once is like really expensive. And so oh my gosh. Is my internet just not working right now? I'm not dropping frames, so I know that it's functioning. All right. This is the 2023 0213 batch 1. That coffee. All right, cool. It took it. Roasted weight. What did I say? 504? That sounded right. Save and close. Boom. All right, we're done. So, looking at this coffee. Normally, I struggle to draw out that middle phase. This time, we had the opposite problem, where we drew out that phase way too much, and then we had a 4.5 minute middle phase, or development phase, which is just way too long. Everything that you're seeing here, except for like the dry phase went great. Middle phase, way too long. So what did I do? I dropped us down to P5. I don't think I should have done that. I think we could have started at P6. I could have kicked the fan up to F3 the way that I did. or start at P7, drop it down to P6 when I felt like it, probably at the dry end, maybe a little before, but probably at dry end, and then just let it ride at P6. Adjust it again, check it again if it's, at a, 185, 190 degrees. If it's moving a little too quick, we can tamp it back a little bit. Because what temp were we at when we hit first crack here? And again, I know it was super drawn out, but we were at 201. IBTS read 201 at first crack. So, yeah, we'll check it again at like 185, 190. If it's moving at a proper pace, I would guess it's going to hit first crack somewhere around like 203 when we're actually doing it. So, like, yeah. I'm talking to myself. I always said when the reason I decided to start streaming myself roasting coffee was because I was just talking to myself so much as I was roasting, like talking out loud through my thoughts on how I was adjusting things. And then I was recording it because I wanted to be able to go back and like play it back and see what I could change. And then it kind of clicked. I was like, why don't I just stream this? I'm being bad at leaving because it's interesting.
Challenge.
Yeah. All right. It's interesting because a lot of stream cooking and just chatting. Oh yeah, a lot of people stream cooking in just chatting, yes. But they're like not... And I don't know how long ago you said that, but they're not like actual food and drink streamers. They're doing it to be like just chatting. It's like a bit, like a sketch form, basically. But it's not like what they do.
Challenge.
Perfect. Okay, 600 grams again. We're going to try that one more time. I have a feeling this batch is going to go way better. Way better. And then depending on how I'm feeling, depending on what time it is, I don't know, a lot of food and drink streamers do variety. That's true too. And even me, once in a while, once in a great while, I'll play a video game or something like that. I'm big into my old I've got like a old Nintendo emulators, so I'll play on those sometimes. Those are fun. Just pulling up a stream manager so that I can actually see things that are happening. So what we're doing right now is we're charging the roaster. We are dumping 600 grams of green coffee into it. We'll pull this guy back up so that we can all kind of see what it's doing. About to actually shut down computer. I hope everyone has a great night. Absolutely. Same to you, Jen. Thank you for dropping in. Always good to have familiar faces around. Always a good time. Again, if you're not already following or subscribed to Jen Powell's Kitchen, go do that. She's great. I need to get shout-outs working. That's what I need to do. That way I can properly recognize the great people that drop into my stream. Oh, shoot. P7. One variable that I've never messed around with, like at all, is drum speed. And one of these days, I'm going to be kind of curious to see how drum speed might affect the progress of a coffee. I always get hesitant with that though, because like realistically, you want that coffee moving around a lot, and most people that I have talked with about this just leave their drum speed at max just to keep it spinning in there. But maybe someday we'll try it. Maybe someday. So yeah, what did I say we were going to do? We're going to start it at P7. We're just going to let it ride at P7 until dry end. Or, yes, till dry end. And then we will play with it from there. So, rate of rise is kind of crested. Now it's slowly moving back down, which is what we want. And I think having our rate of rise sit at like 15 or 16, I think is perfect for right now. It'll kind of decrease as it goes, but for what we're doing currently, I think that's perfect. So we want to hit about 170 degrees right around 5-ish minutes. So we're doing good. Avgas Kool-Aid, welcome in, my friend. Happy Monday indeed. Currently on a treadmill, trying to avoid the loud party that my housemates are having. Hey, very nice. Very nice. Good on you for getting some exercise in. I'm starting to try to get some exercise in myself because, well, I got a long way to go. So, but yeah, welcome in. Welcome in. This coffee is looking great as always. Still pretty green, but we got another 30-ish seconds before I'd be wanting it to be at dry end anyway. Yeah, we're getting there. Probably this next one that I sniff will be... maybe there's a little bit of green still in there, but I think we're good to call it there. So we will do F3, P6. I'll let it ride. So we're shooting for a 4 to 4.5 minute middle phase on this coffee. That is ideally what we want. 4 to 4.5 minutes. Oh. Still have not come up with a good name for this thing. That needs to happen. That needs to happen. Also looks like I need to vacuum out some of these cobwebs up here. Yeesh. So what are we at? We are at 185-ish. I might... do I slow this down? I've only been in dry phase for like, or middle phase for like a minute and a half. Yeah, I'm slowing it down. B5, F4. Let that go for a little bit. The roaster? What did I say? That I don't have a name for it? That I need to clean it? I forgot what I said. I know I don't have a name for it yet. We talked about giving it a name at some point. You wanted a name for something. Yeah, the roaster. It still doesn't have a name. And I feel like it needs one. See, this just feels like it's moving too fast now. Well, maybe not. Because again, if we're going to hit... I don't know. Maybe it's moving too fast. It's going to start accelerating as it gets towards first crack. So, I don't know. Spent about 3 minutes in the middle phase. I wanted to spend 4 to 4.5 minutes there, so I don't know. But yeah, no. Bullet still needs a name. I'm still just calling it Bullet. The Bullet. The Roaster. Whatever. Hearing some early snaps, which I guess it's not quite time for that yet. I'm just looking at the way this chart's going. It's also not time for it either, though. So calm down. Avgas Kool-Aid, Rosie, maybe. Oh yeah, isn't that the name of the vacuum from the Jetsons? They called it Rosie. So it should probably be thinking about first crack sometime quick here. Starting to hear some early snaps. Yeah. Yeah, I'm calling first crack right there. Interesting. It started cracking a little bit earlier than I expected it to. So I'm going to give it a little gas. I'll kick that fan up while I'm at it. Get some air circulating through there. And then now we really just want to let it eat. Looking good, but remember, Don't screw it up. Yeah. Thanks, guy. Welcome in here, Fat Beans Coffee Lab. It's looking all right for now. We're kind of at the bottom of that like post first crack dip. So I don't know. I don't want to start calling out numbers yet, but I'd like this to get a little bit darker, a little bit quicker, which it seems to be starting to do that. So I don't know. We'll let her chug along for a little bit here. Let her keep on chugging. Bean Man, you missed a pal raid. Gen Pal dropped in. It was a good time. Yeah, we are going to want this. Again, I'm thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of like 225. Yeah. 225 to 230-ish. So I'll let her start chugging along here. We also had a little bit longer middle phase than I think we wanted to. So I'm not going to get super concerned, but ideally where you'd finish this under like 14 minutes. Even this feels like a pretty long roast. Maybe I shouldn't have gone down to P5 there in the middle of the middle phase. The middle of the middle phase. Maybe I should have let that keep chugging along. It's a Brazil. It is I think it's a wash Brazil. Yeah. Yeah, this is shocking. And it's a 600 gram batch, so if you got a long development, let it keep going into the 30s. So it started hitting the second crack. The last batch that I did, it was like 228-ish, and it started in second crack. So having this just crazy long development, though, just never feels quite right. I don't know what it is, but it just never feels like, yeah, I know. But hey, we'll see. Maybe it'll start behaving a little bit more. Not really, because we're already in a 15-minute batch. Check the density. I'm finding low densities need way more heat. It has become my obsession. Okay. What do you mean by? Oh yeah, you've been checking the density on your coffee lately. I've been meaning to ask like what exactly you're doing, like what exactly you're looking for when you're like checking the loose bean density or whatever you call it. Yeah, we are in second crack, so I'm gonna drop it here. couple beans getting stuck. It's called a freestanding densities method. And what I'm finding, densities lower than 0.68 grams per milliliter are using more power and or longer roast times. That's interesting. I've never given any thought to bean density. So I am curious. Yeah, I'm going to be curious to continue hearing about that, because that is yet another interesting metric that I can use to measure stuff with coffee. Because you know me, I kind of obsess over the numbers. That's why the Sumatra I've been doing is so much slower, and it is a very low densities. All right. More power, yeah. It seems to be massive with the bullet. All right, that's good to know. Because like I've been, these last two batches, I mean, I'll show you both of them that I roasted. And I think part of it is I'm dropping power earlier than I need to. Yeah, like this one felt super long, and this last one was only 9 seconds shorter. So this is the first batch. I dropped it down to P5 at first, or at like the beginning of the yellow phase, and it just, I mean, it moved along, but it just went so slow. And so I tried to combat that by keeping the, I tried to combat that by keeping the power up a bit more, or a bit longer in this last batch. Also 501, so that's like the same moisture loss or same weight loss. But I tried to keep that up in this roast here, and it just didn't do that. It, well, not really. I didn't try super hard. I went down to P6 instead of, like, I still ended up at P5. And I think what I needed to do was not get nervous about how fast the coffee was going here, and just let it keep going. Although, you know, 448 is not a bad middle phase when the dry phase takes 513. So maybe that was the right move, but maybe I didn't need to, or maybe I just increased the fan instead of increasing, or instead of decreasing the heat there, I just give it a little more air. Use fan, yeah. I can't speak till I see it, but if I were a betting man, I would say that Brazil is a low density. I wish I had some way to measure volume down here right now. I'd have to go steal some of my wife's cookware. Yeah, I mean, it probably is a low density, so it just needs more heat. Needs more heat. So yeah, I think that would be the only thing I would change about this batch, is instead of dropping it down to P5 here, just just boost the fan up a little bit there. Use the fan to kind of adjust the roast instead of using the power. Then I think we'd be well on our way to a great tasting coffee. All right. So let's log this roast, just for my own sanity. What I do when I'm not streaming is I will just pour over this and think about what I could do different in each of these batches. 2023 02 13. Batch 2. Green weight 600 grams. Roasted weight 501. Yeah, 16.5% weight loss. Nice and dark. It's going to be a tasty coffee. Well, it's going to be a tasty coffee liqueur. That's what this is going into. I've been logging just for you lately. Get a cup, fill it with 100 grams of water, mark it with a Sharpie, and then pour beans in the line and weigh. So we're measuring the weight and then how much volume the beans displace, essentially. So like, yeah, that's density. Like weight per volume. Well, I appreciate you logging. For me, it's just more like a sanity check for myself of like, you know, what could I do differently? Yeah. Boom, science. Absolutely. I was going to say, that is what we used to do in like our science classes in high school. I remember back in high school, we were like, in my geometry class, we were each given like a sphere, and we had to calculate the volume of the sphere, and I, for whatever reason, didn't know the formula for it when I was at home, like, trying to calculate it, and so I did the water trick where you see how much water it displaces, and submitted that as my answer, and my teacher was like, it was like the task failed successfully meme. He was like, you got it right, but you didn't do it the way you're supposed to, so no points. And I was like, come on, give me something. I was creative. Did something different. But hey, that's the way it goes. That is the way it goes. All right. If it wasn't for girls in my class drawing my attention, I'd be the Stephen Hawkins of coffee. If it wasn't for girls in my class drawing my attention, I'd be the Stephen Hawkins of coffee. Stephen Hawkins. I'm not a well-read man. So, what did Stephen Hawkins do? Stephen Hawking, the theoretical physicist? I mean, that would probably make sense contextually. I'm going to guess that's what you meant. Understandable. Yeah, what was my big distraction in high school? Mostly just my friends. It was a small town high school. Just in the same classes with everybody every year for all the time. So, although I was kind of a nerd in high school in a lot of ways, was in all the honors and AP classes and gunk like that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that, though, is where we are going to call it. I think on future roasts, what I will just do is, instead of decreasing the power during that middle phase, I might kick the fan up one, maybe even 2 notches to just get more air moving. Once we're kind of above F5, it's introducing, and because this is a basement in Michigan, the ambient temperature in here is pretty cold. I'm wearing a sweatshirt for a reason. It'll be moving a lot of stuff there. I think there's just a lot of keyboard errors happening tonight, which I understand. It's getting late. Um, but yeah, I think I'm going to call it here. As always, it is wonderful hanging out with all of you. Great stream tonight. I'm super glad I streamed. I was on the fence, like, do I want to stream? Do I not want to stream? Very glad I did. It's always fun hanging out with all of you. But with that, I think we are going to call it a night. So I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. I hope your coffee stays nice and strong and that your love for one another stays even stronger. So